What is up, guys? Beancrew49 here. We are back in the Desolation map. And for those of you who know the map well, you'd already know that today we are in the ghetto. That's right, guys. We're back in the ghetto. Ghetto work continues today. Not too much work left to do in the ghetto, but this is the hardest part. I do have one more factory I need to build, which is something that I've put off for a while. But I've been filling chests, and as you know, it's a long process. How long have we been filling chests in the ghetto for now? I can't even keep track. It's been so long. Oh, man. But someone's got to do it, and that someone's got to be me. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to be filling up the Days End Sleazy Motel, which is... doesn't get much sleazier than this, my friends. This is like, imagine a motel. Do you guys know what a motel is? It's like the lowest of the lows. They charge hourly rates. Okay, this is just dingy, right? It's the worst. So the items inside the motel have to reflect that. So I got all sorts of dingy items that I'm about to rename and fill up, put in these chests, and you know, it's kind of fun thinking up all these names. I enjoy it. It's just there's so much to do. It feels a little bit repetitive. That's the only problem. So that's why we're going in fast forward motion, because if I went in real speed, you guys would be bored to tears. But in this fast forward motion, you get a real sense of how I fill these chests. And if you guys have any ideas of things to add to chests in the ghetto, then I'm all ears. I'm just exhausted. I just exhausted everything. Gun names, if you guys have any gun names that we can put in there. I always run out of names to rename guns. Oh, bows, you know. Anyway, we are in fast forward motion because today is Monday, and Monday means it's creative question of the week time, the part of the series where I answer questions from you, the community, that you submit in the comment section below. Be sure that you're submitting comments or questions, guys. I didn't get a lot this week. I didn't get a lot the previous week, so the pickings are kind of slim. So I would really appreciate if you put in just a little question. It could be about anything. I just like to have a wide variety. Okay, I feel like I say that every episode, but you know, I feel like I got to. Okay, just because some weeks we get like 17 questions. I don't know which one to answer. They're all good. Other weeks I get like 2, and neither of them are very good. So I really need your help, guys. You guys are like the batteries for this Energizer Bunny. What do I say? I don't know. I don't know what I was saying. Anyway, today's creative question of the week comes from IGL Zenix, and IGL Zenix says, what are the most unexpected difficulties you have encountered while building Desolation and running Gaia, and what advice can you give to those who are thinking about running a server and or building a city? Alright, thank you, IGL Zenix. You saw IGL in Friday's episode where he helped build some offices in Chinatown. Be sure to go subscribe to his channel. He does Gaia videos. And yes, so thank you, IGL, for that question. And I've talked about running Desolation and building Desolation. There's 630 episodes, and so I basically said everything there is to say about Desolation. So I think what I want to do in response to this question is just talk about Gaia and just talk about a community survival server. This is the third one I've run, and I've learned a lot of things. And I would go as far as to say I'm an expert at running community servers. And, you know, that sounds kind of silly. How could you be an expert at opening a map and letting people play on it? No, my friends. It's far more in-depth than that, and I'll explain it to you today. So, I'm going to give you some tips if you're thinking about starting a survival server, or if you ever thought about it, or if you just want to join a survival server and have a greater appreciation for what the host is doing for you guys, then this is going to be a great video, okay? So, my first tip for running a survival server is that you got to be committed. Unless you've done it, you have no idea how much work it is. Okay, it's so much work. Oh my goodness. If it's not something that you really want to do, it's gonna fizzle out. And 99% of community survival servers that I've experienced have fizzled out relatively quickly. And it's because the server host wasn't committed. And commitment means opening the world as much as you possibly can, being a part of the world, interacting with players, making sure players are always having fun, squashing any dramas, any beefs that there may be. It's just a huge undertaking. It really is. And people don't realize how much time it takes, and I'll get to that because that's a big issue, is the time. And so you got to be committed. You really have to want to do it. If you're just gonna be like, hey, I'm bored, let's get people on my world and build something, it's not. That's gonna last a day, a week tops. A week tops. So you have to be committed to the long term. To, you know, if people are gonna invest a lot of their time into your server, they have to be sure that it's gonna be around in a year. Who wants to spend all that time building something and then it's just like, oh, the guy never opens it anymore? What a waste. And that's one of the reasons why I feel like I'm a great server host, is because I'm way more committed than any other person I've met when it comes to hosting one of these things. And not to toot my own horn, but I am the best community server runner that I know. So be committed. That's the main #1 guide I can give you. Number 2 is just realize how much of an investment it is. Let's talk about time. Here's the thing, guys. If your server is successful, you're going to get people from all over the world wanting to play. That's just the way Minecraft is, right? And so a guy in England wakes up in the morning and wants to play. So he says, hey, is Gaia open? And then a guy in, you know, Mozambique wants to play at noon. He says, hey, is Gaia open? And then the guy in America wants to play. And is, you know, basically what I'm trying to say with time zones is there are always people wanting you to open the server at all times, at all hours, right? So, and if they don't get to play, they get you know, disappointed, and then they eventually leave. So you have to have your server open as much as humanly possible. That's a huge investment, and which means you can't play other games. This is all going to change with Realms, and thank goodness for Realms. But as it is now, you know, you got it as a huge time investment. You got to always be available to people, or else they'll lose interest. Because if, you know, people have very tight schedules sometimes, and if they can't get on the server because you only open at a certain time of day, then they're gonna be like, oh, I can't play there, and so it sucks. And you don't want to like exclude anybody, but you also have to have a life of your own. And you can't just open up the server whenever someone asks you to, because there's other things you got to be doing, right? Living life is a priority over running a server, but not much. Okay, so it's an investment in time. It's an investment in patience. One thing that I've learned, especially through Gaia, this didn't happen so much. It happens sometimes in my other servers, but first of all, there's always going to be people who break the rules. Always. That's just, it's the nature of human beings. It's sad, it's depressing, it's aggravating, but there are just some people who just want to see the world burn, okay? And so you got to be careful with those people, and have fail-safes, basically. You got to have fail-safes. So well, I'll get into that in a minute. So yes, you got to be very careful with who you let into the server. That's probably one of the biggest things I can give to you. Don't just let anybody in. I know you don't want to like discriminate against people. You don't want to exclude people, but you can't let everybody in, because people will grief your server. You have to let in trusted people. And what I've done is I've made very creative ways, personally creative ways, of allowing people to join the server. Like on my last community server before Gaia, I had this thing called the trials, and it was like a huge long test of Minecraft knowledge and skill and ability, and they had to get through it. And it wasn't about saying, oh, they're really good at Minecraft because they passed my trial so they can play. That's not what it was about. It was about making people jump through hoops, right? And if they jumped through that last hoop, that shows me that they were dedicated, right? That they wanted to play, and that they were like a definite, a probable good match for the server, because they were dedicated, and they were tenacious, and they were also good at Minecraft, because you couldn't be bad at Minecraft and pass the trials. It was impossible. Anyone who's gone through the trials will tell you it is very difficult. And so my other server had a little bit of a exclusivity to it. And then the same with Gaia. With Gaia, I kind of put it in the hands of other people that I trust, but you can't get privileges on Gaia unless a leader accepts you. And again, each leader has his own hiring process. So you gotta go through the ringer in order to join the server, and it shows dedication, basically. And if you don't have that kind of dedication, you're probably not going to be a good player on the server. I mean, another horrible thing about running a server, sometimes people will come one day and spend 6 hours playing and build some little shack, and then you'll never see from them again because they just came because they were bored. If you have a way to basically choose who you're going to let onto the server, you're going to avoid that, because these are people who want to make a long-term commitment to your server and who want to play and be a part of the community. So the next bit of advice I can give you is to have a goal. You can't just open up the world and be like, okay, here's the world, everyone come play, let's build whatever you want, and it falls apart. It always does. There has to be a goal, there has to be some sort of regimented guidelines, and not to say you should make a bunch of rules, that's not what I'm saying, but you have to have a clear vision of where you want the server to go, what you want people in the server to be doing. For instance, with Gaia, we made a model UN, basically, and we all interact with each other and see how the social interactions go, and sometimes it's great, sometimes it's a lot of bickering, but there's a goal there, there's an objective, and that's what people can see, the objective of your server. Make that clear to them when they're joining, so that they know what they're getting into, and there's a purpose. It's just like building in Minecraft. If you don't have a purpose, you just kind of place blocks and then you get bored. So if you have a purpose that's going to take a long time to achieve, that's going to give you and the players who want to join your server reasons to keep coming back over and over and over, because there's a vision for the future, there's a goal. So that's definitely one of the more important things, is having a goal. The last thing I'll mention is have people you can trust help you. Running a server is a lot of work. It's time-wise, it's a huge investment. You can't do it by yourself. Even when Realms comes out and the server's always open, you still need people you can trust to help, guide the server along. In Gaia, we have leaders, and for the most part, I trust these leaders to, if there's any griefing going on, to solve the problem, to kick the players. If there's any arguments going on, to kind of squash it, and or to solve it in some way. Basically, these leaders help me. They're like server moderators, basically, is what they are, and they're the only ones with privileges who can give and take privileges. So I trust these people, and I've selected people who I can trust only to help me with that. And without help on that server, there's no way I could just leave it open and go AFK, because you got to watch the server. You just got to. Every single time something bad on Gaia has happened, it's when I was not there, right? And so it's not a foolproof, safe method, right? But it does help to have people that you can trust help you run the server. One thing, another thing about running a server is it feels a lot like running a daycare. And the reason I say that is because Minecraft draws a younger crowd, a little bit of an immature crowd, and even the adults who play Minecraft, myself included, are a little bit immature. Okay, you know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of bickering, there's a lot of bullying, there's a lot of whining and complaining, and this is not just Gaia. I mean, every server I've ever ran, I mean, there was just a very immature attitude to a lot of things. Not by everyone, of course, but and so you got to realize that you are basically a babysitter for a lot of young kids, and that's something you got to keep in mind. And we've had some bullying happening on Gaia recently, and I've done everything I can to squash that, but even still, it's like kids will be kids, and there's not much you can do about it except make sure they don't tear your place apart. Okay, so definitely realize that you're gonna have a younger crowd, and you're gonna have to hold their hand through a lot of different things and help them with their dramas and their problems, because it's it's a young game. Kids are drawn to this game, and you interact with kids, you're gonna have some childlike issues, so you got to just be prepared for that. Alright, I think that's everything I have to say about running a server. I mean, there's so much more, and these are things that you learn as you go along, like things like don't have TNT explodes on, don't have fire spread on, don't give privileges to everyone, have the privileges, what's the word, what do they call it, whatever, privileges disabled for new players, whatever that option is called. I forget what it's called. Anyway, you have that on so you can give privs to the people who you want to. Have your trusted friends be able to kick players in case something bad happens. And but also at the same time, you got to trust people. You got to, and that's what makes a server successful, is the trust that you put in them to help you create a brand new world. You're creating a world. It's so much fun, and you're doing it as a community. You're bringing people together towards a common goal, and it's very satisfying to not only host one, but also to play in one, but especially to host one, because you're bringing all these people together to have a great time and to enjoy themselves and to create together and be creative and just make a world that's never been seen before. And it's fun. It is so much fun. So I want to thank everyone who plays on Gaia. You guys have made the community sensational. Yes, there's been our problems, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. Shout outs to Chester Bennington. And thank you all for everything you've done. And if you want to run a community of your own, go for it. If you want to join my community, you know how to reach me. Put in the comment section, join the party, add the leaders, and we will get you in the game, and you can Gaia yourself. Oh, it's so much fun. Alright guys, that's going to do it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please be sure to leave some comments in the comment section, especially creative questions of the week, and I will answer those next week. Alright guys, leave a like if you enjoyed this. Subscribe if you haven't already. Happy Minecrafting. Peace.